Surf's up. We're here to rank the teams on their 2024 season, their individual earnings, and for reference here, estimated salary monthly. These are estimated figures, okay? Estimated. I'm not going to really divulge different places these numbers came from, but I will say this. The numbers that are in gray right here, these ones are less so verified. These are more speculative, but the ones that are in white have quite a bit of truth behind them. And as Stown and Yabby said, the truth will all be revealed one day.
That everyone dreams about. Make your dreams come true on Skin Club.
So these are fairly close. These are fairly close. I wouldn't say that any of these are down to the $1,000 rounded number, but they are. Some of them are within $10,000. So what we're going to be doing is giving them grades based off of that. Based off of the season that they had, the amount that they spent, and this will factor in the amount of prize money they won, because that obviously has a factor with Valve rankings. Also, did they make it to the major? You can only have so good of a season if you did not make the major. That's just that. It's basically like winning $1 million more in prize money, and much of that will go to the organization. And I'm talking about expectations for mostly the team, a little bit the players, like if they have, they have these kinds of players, but sometimes orgs are getting kind of fleeced by the players. But we'll when we get to those kinds of teams, we'll talk about them a little bit more. And so I have given a somewhat random order of the teams here on the left side in this tier list. So first things first, I usually create a team that is an S tier team based off of performing well above expectations. I create a C tier team so that you guys kind of know what the baseline level is of a professional team. And then I have an F tier team who has drastically failed, spectacularly failed in the season. Okay, first things first, S tier team right here. Team that exceeded all expectations based off of how much they are earning. They are a team that is in my speculative category, as in they are a grayed out box, but for what they accomplished with the amount of money that was behind them, I think that they did fantastically. And that team is a practically bedroom organization. They are a practical bedroom organization. They are the Mongolz. If you look through the Mongolz vlogs on YouTube, and yet look, this is how this is their fridge. They have basic pickles, off-brand Coca-Cola. We are pocket watching. We are absolutely pocket watching. They have a fake brand of Coca-Cola. But another thing that's even the most interesting thing, here's the boot camp. Yeah, they have some TVs and stuff like that, but look at how they sleep. This is the most jarring thing to ever see for a tier 1 team. They have 2 single beds. This is Senzu and Mizinho's room. They are in 2 single beds in the same room. But that's not it. It's not just that those 2 are sleeping in beds next to each other. Mara and Techno, the coach of the team, and one of their players share a bed. They share a bed. It's not even just they share a room. They share a bed. They are sharing a literal bed. They won a significant LAN. They jumped up pretty high in the rankings. We're all taking note of them at this point. I think many people are making the prediction that they're going to make a true arena playoffs at this point. And so that's, clear S tier. Clear S tier, the Mongolz. Okay? Huge performances for what they are putting into that team, okay? I think that this team probably surprised a lot of people. I think a lot of people weren't really sure how much they were spending, but if you back in the day, I think actually a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, this team was getting a big bang for its buck. But since then, they've done 3 things. They sold Cadian, they sold Yabby, they sold Stown, And once that money started coming in, they started spending bigger. And for my money, they haven't really accomplished a hell of a lot despite spending that much. That is heroic. They are spending $160,000 right now, roughly, per month. They have $137,000 in prize money for the season thus far. They have no trophies to speak of. Yes, they made it to the major, but no one's really saying that this team's going to win a tournament, but they're hovering around the top 10. And I also think that for a team that's building from scratch, that this is totally reasonable. So heroic, they're going to go into the C tier right here. That is a fair position for them. That is a fair starter for the C tier. Now, F tier. F tier. Big spenders, no results. Okay. I think yeah, it's right there in the name. You already got it right there. Yep. There have been a couple teams, and if we're talking about Shek Stiling, if we're talking about Shek Salan, this has been they've been bad. They know their season's bad. All of them have been winners before. All of them have delivered. All of them have won at some point in time. It is bare obvious. This is the Falcons. Yes, they are spending quite a bit of money. I do think that they are spending a little bit less than people might think. I think that if you look at the breakdown of their roster, if you actually like itemized it, as far as I know, if we want to kind of get into real pocket watching, as far as I know, a couple of their players are making a lot. I think their coach is making a lot. But I think their new recruit is not necessarily making a ton. Whether we want to talk about how they allocated their funds in other regards, like, getting Simple on loan for the Blast Showdown, that's a different question. How they might have Boros still on the payroll, that's a different question. I'm just talking about the core starting 6 people on their roster, the 5 starting players and their coach. Falcons, they swung and missed on Nico and Monacy. And in their stead, they got an ENCE core, which is not delivering, even with the fact that they're backed by one of the GOAT coaches, and it's a multi-time major winners in Magician Dupree. It has been bad for Falcons. F tier, clearly. Eternal Fire, okay? Eternal Fire. Eternal Fire is also very speculative, okay? This is a very speculative number. This is what is assumed based off of the fact that Xantares talked about how crazy other salaries in the space were a couple of years ago, that it felt like he's never really even touched that kind of money for his kind of salary, where he was just saying, $20K a month is just crazy. He was saying stuff like that. So that's, so from that assumption, Eternal Fire, again, it's gray, so there is less to go off of here. They could be making more. They could even be making less. They did well. The prize money, if you actually sort by prize money won for the season, they actually are right there. They're above G2. They're above Vitality. They're above Astralis. They're right beneath Falcons. They won a CCT online event. It was online, so that's why I give them a half on the S tier trophy. And then I also, but they're spending very little. The Mongolz have set the bar incredibly high. Not only has the Mongolz well overperformed what their salaries are, the speculative salary is absolutely lower for the Mongolz. Eternal Fires is definitely higher than the Mongolz. And on top of that, they made it to the playoffs of the major, which was nice and impressive, and it put them on the map for a little bit. But it kind of feels like the hype is sort of waned in a way where the Mongolz are pretty much the hottest thing in town right now. Eternal Fire, they are safely in the A tier. They are doing quite a bit. On top of that fact, there's never really been a Turkish team this good before. Then, don't let nostalgia fool you about Space Soldiers. They were an exciting team, but they were not this good. This does not that good. B tier is where you're not necessarily taking the biggest titles, but you're showing up and you're making the most out of what you got. Okay, you're making the absolute most of what you've got. And I think that one team that they've stayed top 10 this whole time. They stayed top 10 this whole time. Sure, they weren't too much of a threat to win S-tier trophies, but they won a little trophy at the end of the season. We're happy about that. And they also make less than people think. I think people were weirdly people are so I've heard a lot of different numbers about Complexity. I've heard a lot of different numbers about them, but I'm going to say, on a lot of these teams that are assumptions, this is a little bit less of an assumption. I'm just going to say that, okay? I'm not going to say anything too much about that beyond that, but this is less of an assumption. Complexity to me have done very well. On top of that, I leaked the number. The Elise transfer fee. We're not talking about transfer fees here. We're not talking about it. That's not part of this thing, but it still factors in. They got a good bang for their buck. 5-figure transfer fee on Elise to take him from Liquid. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And you're a top 10 team this whole time? Well done. Well done, Complexity. This will look better if you look at it like this. Of these 17 teams, Complexity spend the 13th most. Top 10 team spend the 13th most. They won a little title at the end there over a team that is definitely spending way more than them in Falcons. Yeah, Complexity are doing well for what they've got. Okay, they're doing well for what they've got. I think they've been getting slandered a lot by the community because, oh, make this move, make that move. You know, should they re-sign this guy? Like, what about this guy? Like, for what they're spending, I think they're getting kind of what you should and a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm going to find a D tier team, okay? D tier. This team is near and dear to my heart. They weren't the biggest spenders in the most recent season, and the results sort of showed that, okay? This provides me with very little joy to put one of my favorite rosters with one of my favorite players in Crimbo. It's Big Clan. Yeah, they are in the D tier. Missing the major is disastrous for any organization in the space, so even though maybe beyond that they looked okay, just ending at 16th, starting the season at 16th, no real improvement, no real decline, just kind of hovered around a sort of like mediocrity for tier 1 teams is not really great for Big. But the one thing that they can be happy about, and why it's not an F, is that they're not really big spenders. Like, if you had Falcon season and you had Big season, maybe per the fact that Falcons did a little bit better by getting into the playoffs of Kato early on, you would want that by pure achievement. But if you're factoring in the amount of money that these teams are spending and the fact that Big acquired JDC and Searson for free, this is pretty good. Okay. JL wants me to do Navi. All right. JL right there. He's sitting down. He's eagerly waiting. He's rubbing his hands together, saying, this MF doesn't know how much I get paid. He doesn't know how much I get paid. This is not including simple salary. If it were simple salary, they'd be rivaling Vitality, probably. What did Navi get out of this season? They hovered around top 5 the entire time. They have spent kind of middle of the pack. I think that if you include certain transfer fees, like EMA's, which was publicly broadcast as 900,000, that would negatively factor in. I'm not talking about that too much. Transfer fees aren't really part of this discussion. This is the spring season report card. Okay, spring season report card. And what did Navi do? They won the effing major. They won the motherfucking major, okay? They min-maxed super hard on a roster that, sure, it's not really getting paid the absolute most, but it's middle of the pack, and they achieved the pinnacle of Counter-Strike achievement in winning a major, okay? They also, in prize money, won $660,000. If you sort by prize money alone, they are the second highest earning team of the season, okay? But they are spending more than the Spirits of the world. They're spending more than the Mouzes of the world. They're definitely spending more than, obviously, some of these teams. But in terms of teams with similar achievement, like Spirit and Mouz, Navi, they're a bigger spender. They're a bigger spender, and it's not like I'm penalizing you. You still won the major. Okay, for an organization like Navi, that's massive because you are one of, if not the most popular organization in all of Counter-Strike Esports, and they somehow, even with a ragtag team of folks and JL, with some geniuses on their team and JL, some brilliant minds on their team and JL, they're going to be in the A tier. That's a joke. But it's kind of not a joke. Major MVP JL, congratulations. You made it to the A tier. Congratulations. Claps in the chat, please. Claps in the chat. Everybody just clap right now for JL. Thank you. I'm gonna make this really big. Please clap. Please clap. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay. Well, clap for him, not me. This team made some good moves in the middle of the season. They missed the major, so there's only so high they could go. But they made a crazy move. A controversial move, one that was met with criticism, doubt, fear, but god damn it, it was met with Danish pride. Okay, I'm talking about Astralis right now. If you only considered everything that happened after the major, you would be pretty happy about this team. But I will not forget. I cannot forget. I did not forget. Astralis is on this chart one of, I'd say they're in the top third of teams paid, roughly. Top third of teams paid. 6 out of 17. So I guess that's top 2/5 if we want to be specific. They didn't win a significant amount of prize money, actually. Kind of middle of the pack in terms of that. So not really great. And this is a bold. No, guys. Stop. You can't give them a B. Okay. You are off base if you give this team a B. You're completely off base. If you don't make the major, you cost your team $1 million practically. Okay? If you don't make the major, the highest you will be is D. And that is where Astralis is. Astralis are the top of D right now. If I were to make a specificity here, it would be like an Astralis is like a D plus and Big is like a D or a D minus. Okay? They spent big, they swung for the fences, and they didn't even get to a major. I don't know too much about this team. I feel like they were robbed in some ways. I think they could have had a much more legendary season had they not experienced an NVIDIA crash. I will be putting VP. So VP to me, as far as I know, but I'm also, again, big estimate here. Okay, let's put them in the prize money or the amount they're spending on this team. So there we got, well, not that. So we got this team and we got this team. And how much are they both making? Boom, boom. Okay. So right now, VP, they had a huge transfer in the middle of the season to get Electronic. That'll slightly factor in here, but it's not like the sole determinant. They stayed a top 10 team for the entire season, but you never really truly felt like they were a contender to win anything, and they didn't win anything. And the NVIDIA crash did happen, and I'd say that's really unfortunate. If they perhaps got into that top 8 at the major, if they had a chance to beat, say, Navi, play Navi in the round of 8, there's totally a way that they would have shot up higher here, but they walked away practically empty-handed. And the transfer fee isn't like a big factor in all of this stuff, but we all know it was a big number. It was a big number, and they actually got worse. They actually got worse after getting him, like in terms of overall world ranking. So VP, they're at the top of C tier. If I had distinction right here, it'd be about C plus or B minus, and that's all. I'm not really gonna. Yeah, they're very close to B, but it's more like a C plus season, really. I'm gonna do ENCE. I'll do ENCE. Okay, so ENCE for me this season, they started off really hot. Playoffs with Katowice, huge overperformance in terms of expectation. They were clearly a more budget roster throughout the entirety of the season. The only reason that the salary is as high as it is because this was information from Bubsky, because Bubsky helped contribute to putting together these estimated salaries. Shout out Bubsky. Is that Glaive is still on a nice salary. He's still on a pretty big salary taken from Astralis. Probably a higher salary than ENCE even ever wanted to pay, really, for somebody, but they just had to get somebody, and then they just slapped the roster together, and they made it to the major. They got into the playoffs with Katowice, and then they just kind of fell off a cliff entirely. They went from 37th to 24th in the world. I kind of see them in a similar vein as I actually do Heroic. You kind of were building from scratch, but the thing is that Heroic were much bigger spenders than you. And so actually when it comes to ENCE, you look at estimated salary versus the amount of prize money they won and the rankings and stuff like that, it's very similar to me. It's very similar to me. I'm going to be slotting ENCE right here in the C tier. Because they had to rebuild again. Okay, they basically built a team and then they just had to rebuild. Okay, so I'm not like that's not a great feeling for anybody, because now you're starting from square one again when you had a little bit of a honeymoon. Are you gonna have a honeymoon again, ENCE? Is Potty gonna pop off for you guys? I think that's all something we have got to wait and see. But as it stands, not really the worst season. They made it to the major playoffs of Kato. That's great, but like everything else was quite bad. Furia. Looking at their expenditures, this might be a little bit lower than people expect. By the way, it was announced today that Cacerado and Yuri were signed to 3-year extensions. But what they were on before that was what from their 5-year deal. Their 5-year deal. And so you know what market value was 5 years ago in 2019? It was a lot lower. A lot lower, I'm going to tell you that, okay? The highest paid person for Furia is obviously fallen. Obviously fallen, okay? Cello was not doing as well in terms of payroll as Fallen. Art was on that same 5-year deal that Yuri and Cacerado was on. In fact, I'm going to tell you something. It has actually come to me in an assumption. Wink, wink. It has come to me in an assumption that this number was actually too high. This number was actually too high. So this is a live update for you guys. This number is more like this. This feels a little crazy, but it's actually like this. So when you actually sort this once again, they were paying about that much, okay? And also, when they had Kai, it was even lower than this. It was even lower than this when they had Kai. So this sounds crazy, but Furia is actually one of in terms of responsible budget, Furia did pretty well for themselves. They made it to the major. They didn't earn a lot. Their ranking got worse, okay? But they were not spending a lot, okay? And Furia at this point are going to be they're in a weird position. If I compare them to Heroic and ENCE, I would say that both of these teams had better seasons for themselves. They both paid more though. And the category that Furia will have to occupy is the bottom of C. It's the very bottom of C, okay? It's the very dead bottom, okay? They saved a lot of money. I wasn't happy with Furia this season. I was not happy with Furia this season. I did not like that they threw Kai into this team, but god damn it, they saved a lot of money. God damn it, they did, okay? So, that's something to their credit. It's something to their credit, okay? I think that the new edition of Skulls is great. If you read what I wrote on dust2.br, I have positive. I'm actually fairly high on Furia, guys, now. I'm not like, I think that Furia will go from easily 19th to a top 10 team again. I actually think that they will. I think it's pretty easy that they're going to hit top 10 in the world, actually, at some point in the next season. I don't know how long they're going to last there. I don't see them winning a trophy necessarily, but this is a huge upgrade. I think that Fallen is actually a much more legit IGL than Art overall. I think that Cacerado is still a monster, and I think the biggest thing about the Skull signing, which is not relevant in this C grade ranking, by the way, what you do in the offseason is not really relevant to these rankings. This is a Season 1 report card. I feel like Skulls 1-for-1 takes all of Cello's positions, and it allows Cello to play Art's old positions, and what Cello was so good at on Imperial was playing Art's positions. So I feel like that is a huge boon to both Skulls being a greater specialist in those positions. I think he will return to his pain level of form where he can have more pop-offs because the communication is going to be a lot better. And I think that Cello, who has been a questionable piece for this Furia team, will improve his own individual gameplay. I have already bought all my Cello stocks, and now I'm holding them. I am holding on to my Cello stocks because y'all sold really low. A lot of you sold incredibly low. All right, moving on. Let's do the highest paid team in CS2. As far as I know, this is the highest paid team in CS2 esports. Okay, you can see it right here. Vitality. Boom. Vitality. Elite team. Elite. They were elite all season. Okay, they were very good. They stayed rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. I think the worst they ever did was rank 6. They were rank 6 briefly for a couple weeks. They were rank 6 in the world. But the problem is that when it comes to spending money, Vitality, Jerome Coop has them by the balls Prodigy Agency has them by the balls. All 5 of their players are under the same agent, and he is asking for some absurd numbers. And for everything that people know about this team, they are the highest. They have the highest paid player in all of CS2. ZywOo's deal is flat out legendary. We're talking like he's making over $1 million in a year. Making over $1 million. He's making over $1 million from salary. Yeah, it's bonkers. It is bonkers stuff for ZywOo. So they are spending massively, and when you open that, you look at that spring season, you open that trophy cabinet up, what do you see? Huh? There's nothing there. There's nothing there. Absolutely nothing. The wind just blows right through. Vitality stayed elite this whole time, and for that, they get commended. They got to the semifinals of the major. They got stickers, obviously. They made back a decent amount of what they're spending from that, as did a lot of these teams. Some of these teams were even profitable, by the way, because they got the sticker money. I don't think that Vitality is in that same vein. I don't think they could stay. I don't think you could be profitable paying the salaries that they're paying. Maybe there's some sort of numbers that I'd love to be revealed at some point in time, but to the best of my knowledge, they are not profitable. But they stayed elite. They made us all believe. Many tournaments, I predicted them as the ones to likely win it, and they fell short every single time. They are going to be in the B tier beneath Complexity, who were much more frugal, actually walk away with a trophy. Hey, I know the trophy's way smaller, but so is their budget. Their budget is under half, okay? And I can say that winning that felt pretty damn good. Felt pretty damn good to win that for Complexity, and for Vitality, all you're walking away with from this season is disappointment and trying to figure out what that missing piece is. So, totally different positions for the team. 2 very different types of B-tier teams. I'm not over the moon, but I think they did what they came to do. They walked away with a trophy. They had good earnings overall for the season. They stayed an elite team, just like Vitality, but to the best of my knowledge, they're paying less than Vitality. People talking about pay cuts to move to this team, and yet they still did well. They still did very well, and they got some of the best players in the world. They don't have a world number 1. They don't even have a world number 3. I don't even think they have a world number 4. And yet they still won a trophy, and they were very competitive in many different tournaments. I'm going to put FaZe Clan right here into the bottom of the A tier. Not the most frugal, not the highest achieving, but if I were to do it like this, it would be Navi A+, FaZe probably more like A-, okay? So FaZe, A tier overall, okay? They are definitely in the tier above of what Complexity and Vitality accomplished this season, but for the money, Eternal Fire did, I'd say, better than them in a lot of ways, and Navi obviously overaccomplished. They beat them multiple times, including in a BO3 many of us will not forget. A BO3 that Bit will never forget. All right. There's no table jump for Kerrigan in this season, okay? Ain't no table jump. No one's jumping on no desks. All right, let's put it like that. Okay. I'll keep this one a little bit brief. I think that their offseason would put me... If I only graded their offseason moves, I'd put them in, like, F. I would put them flat out F. I'd put them in the N category for nepotism. I'm going to put G2. So G2, I can't, I'm not grading that. I'm not grading the transfer window moves, okay, which I've been I do not like them. Very disappointed, as a matter of fact. Taz is on fraud watch, okay? Like, Taz, so everybody's like, oh, Maui, who are you going to pick on this tournament? Who are you going to pick on this tournament? It is Taz. It is Taz. Okay, Taz brought in Snacks, who has complete role overlap with Hunter and Nico. Like, what the hell is going on here? Every position, he basically is like a Hunter or Nico position. But they won a trophy. Hey, they won a trophy. They also they won a trophy. They made top 4 at the major. They actually had they weren't. I wouldn't say that they were necessarily elite, but in terms of expenditure, you know, it's on the higher end, but also their prize money was better than Vitality's. The prize money they won was better than Vitality's. They won a trophy. Like, this looks kind of weird, but, you know, even though Vitality were the better team practically all season, They got an empty trophy cabinet right there, and that's pretty disappointing. So G2 at least walked away with 1 at Dallas, and I'm gonna put if we had separation between these categories, G2 would probably be B plus, and Vitality might even be B or B minus. But yep, G2 are at the top of B tier. Okay, top of B tier. Very similar to FaZe, but the thing is that's the difference between FaZe and G2 is that FaZe were obviously much better throughout other tournaments that they didn't win. Okay, yes, they both walked away with a single trophy, both an IEM trophy, but they won $250,000 more in prize money practically, and they both spent the same amount. Okay. Like, FaZe is in a dominant position right now for the Valve rankings for the upcoming major, whereas G2 is a little shakier. They're probably fine, but FaZe have already practically locked up that next spot, so they're in a great position. Also, the thing is that FaZe were holding up that Grand Finals appearance streak for such a long time. Started to fall off a little bit towards the tail end, but still overall a very strong season, and one that, I mean, yeah, again, they're not the biggest spenders. They are big spenders, not the biggest. And they did better than a lot of the teams that are in, like, if you were talking about teams that are in this, like, elite category of expenditure, like, let's even just say 150K and up, the only team that did better than FaZe for the season was, well, there's Navi. There's basically just Navi. You wouldn't really say that any of these other teams did as well as them. Mouz have done everything right. Every move, every single thing they could have done well, they did well. Except for playing on big stages, okay? The big stages eluded them in terms of keeping their composure. They do play worse. I know that Exertion wants to prop up his victories, as he did with Thorin, where they won Bet Boom, where they won ESL Pro League, where they had some big victories against other teams in studio environments. And yes, the level of Counter-Strike that you play is fantastic. All we need to see you do is punch up, break that glass ceiling of playing on stage and keeping everybody's composure. Like Yimpat needs to admit it. He needs to admit it that the pressure gets to him, okay? The first event for Yimpat at Cologne last year, he did badly. He did badly. He was well worse. Anything he did pretty much since then because he was nervous, but he's having those big stage nerves still to this day in many of the events that they play. So Mouz, they need to address that, but that's such a small problem for a team that is otherwise min-maxing like crazy. They brought in Exertion from the Academy roster, Torzi from the Academy roster, Yimpat from the Academy roster. The signing that they got for Brolin is the most perfect one-to-one that you could have gotten instead of Frozen. He's around the same age as them. The amount of prize money that they won is absolutely ridiculous. They won the third most prize money this season, and they are spending probably less than Spirit, and they are spending obviously less than some of these other teams around them, okay? If you look at these 4 teams, they have done fantastic this season. Mouz are absolutely in the S tier. I'm actually going to put them above the Mongolz because I consider their trophies much more valid. And in fact, I even put like a 1.5 for the trophies that Mouz got, even though they did win 2 trophies. They won Bet Boom, they won ESL Pro League. Great stuff for Mouz. Well done, Mouz. Mouz are this close from being the best team in the world because they're also one of the teams that can consistently beat Spirit. But before we get to Spirit, we got to take the bad. Okay? Hey, I had my hesitations about Liquid, all right? I had my hesitations. I thought Skulls was a bit of a question. I thought, but I rated Cadian pretty highly. I thought Cadian was going to do better. I thought Yukindar would have a bounce back in terms of his individual performance. I knew Naf and Twist were mega. They stayed mega. But oh my god. You're rebuilding from scratch once again. You dropped Cadian. You dropped Skulls. You dropped Zeus. You dropped half of your 6-man roster and you got nothing to show for it. Sure, JKS is a great pickup. I rate that one pretty highly. But in terms of player salaries, this is not far off. Okay, that is a very accurate estimated salary, okay? We're talking within maybe 10-20,000 from accurate, okay? That's right on the ball for what the winds are whispering to me. That is a very accurate amount of pay that they're getting every month. And yeah, they didn't even earn as much throughout the entire season. They didn't earn as much prize money as they're paying every single month. Not that that's like any sort of Not that the org's going to see that money, but that's a crazy metric. That is a crazy metric. You look at so many of these other teams, and most of them, a lot, like who else is in F tier? Falcons made less prize money than they pay per month. Liquid did as well. Heroic actually did, which is surprising, but at least they made the major. And yeah, you have to go pretty far down, like Furia, basically. You basically just, it's the only teams that basically made less than they did. Here, this is it. That's it. Those are the 4 teams where their prize money for 6 months is worse than they're paying per month. Okay, those are the 4 teams. In fact, you know what? Let's move them here. Let's move Heroic down 1. Yeah. Okay. That's rough. That's a rough estimate, but it's, well, actually these aren't that rough. Those aren't that rough. They're none of the grade teams that I have. But Liquid, I'm going to need to see more, Joka Steve. I'm going to need to see better. I'm going to need to see more, Joka Steve, okay? I'm going to need to see some magic coming in this next one. You better hope to God that Ultimate is the next coming of Jesus Christ, okay? Okay? Because right now, that first season was absolutely an F tier. That was a huge ass F tier. It was a giga F tier, okay? No major. Yeah, between Liquid and Falcons, guys, I honestly don't know what the bigger failure is. I honestly do not know. They both had very, very bad seasons. They both had very bad seasons. I think I just, they're equal. I don't even know if it's better. I honestly don't know if it's better. They both ended the season 1 ranking spot apart, okay? Last, but definitely not least, we've got Spirit, another team that followed a similar model to Mouz, implementing a wonderfully orchestrated academy team, bringing in Zontix, bringing in Donk. You are paying very low for unbelievable results. You have now moved yourselves from the beginning of the season 13th in the world to the best team in the world, to the number 1 team in the world. There is no question. There is no more need for hesitation. Spirit at the very top of S. Best team in the world, and doing it on a budget. Okay? Sure, they probably got it. They probably cost him a lot to acquire Shiro, but that was the missing piece. That was the move. That was the move to get you to become a meddling team. And hey, Art Frost might have done well for you. Art Frost might have done well for you. But you're not winning the Blast Spring Finals with Art Frost. I don't care. I don't care how good people think he is. You are not winning those Blast Spring Finals with Art Frost. I think you may have won Katowice with Art Frost. I think it was possible. I think you might have won. I think you may have even, because Donk went unbelievably crazy Super Saiyan. But Shiro still did very well at both those events. And so yeah, they had to buy Shiro, but god damn it, they look good, okay? They're playing the best Counter-Strike right now in the world alongside Mouz. These 2 teams are playing the best CS right now, Mouz and Spirit. That's it. They're playing the best Counter-Strike right now. They got some of the best players. They got some incredible teamwork. They got good game plans, and they're not even the biggest spenders. If you look at where they both are landing on estimated salaries, they are in the middle of the pack. Spirit's probably the 9th highest paid team. They might even be getting, if I actually had to really estimate this a little bit closer, I think VP's paying more than Spirit right now. So I think that realistically, Spirit and Mouz are neck and neck, probably paid around the same amount of money. And they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They are 10th and 11th, roughly. They are roughly 10th and 11th. That's crazy. They are that's it. And then if you look at prize money, boom, Spirit, Mouz. Okay, unreal. Great stuff for both of them. And that's it, guys. That's it. If this is a tier list of check stealers, you would just reverse it. Unfortunately, you would just reverse it. As always, being toxic is a choice.